Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you all would be fine. Today I would give you an introduction to quadratic equations, a fundamental concept in algebra. My name is Kanizia Zainab and I hope you would find this session informative and helpful. Before moving towards the actual topic of quadratic equations, have a look at the definition of polynomial, which is an expression made up of variables and coefficients. These expressions can have terms of different powers of the variable. Have a look at the example that is given at the end of this page. It's a polynomial p of x which is equals to 3 into x power 4 minus 5x cube plus 2x square plus 7x plus 1. In this example, you can see that x has different powers. In the first term, 3x power 4, the power of x is 4. In the second term, which is minus 5x cube, the power of x is 3. Similarly, in the third term, the power of x is 2. In the next term, the power of x is 1. And the last term, that is simply 1, there is no x because the power of x has reduced to 0. And whenever the power of x is 0, then it becomes 1, which is no need to write explicitly. Regarding the degree of the polynomial, it is simply the highest power of the variable, and in our case the degree is 4. In this slide, we are looking at three common types of algebraic equations, that are linear, quadratic, and cubic equations. A linear equation is a straight line equation like 2x plus 3 is equals to 0. A quadratic equation is an equation with the highest power of the variable is squared, such as x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equals to 0. Cubic equations such as x cubed plus 3x square minus 4x plus 2 is equals to 0 involve a cubic term, or x cubed, and are more complex than quadratic equations. So these are just different forms of polynomial equations with varying means different degrees. And finally, let's clearly define the quadratic equation. It is a polynomial equation of degree 2, which means that the highest power of the variable is squared. The general form of the quadratic equation is written as ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0, where ax and b are constants, means fixed values, and a is non-zero, means it can never be 0. If a is equals to 0, then you can see that 0 into x squared would become 0, and you would be left with only bx plus c is equals to 0. That means it's no longer quadratic but linear, because now in this case it's having the highest power of x is 1. If you want to plot the graph of the quadratic equation, then it has the shape that is, you can look at the slide. It can either open upward or downward, and even it can also be open on the right side and the left side. And in this figure, you can see that the shape is opening upward and the downward. This is basically a parabolic form. Now the question arises is that how we can solve the quadratic equation. For solving this, we have a few methods. The first method is factorization, is factoring method, which we will go over in detail shortly. Another method is completing the square, which is useful when the equation is not easily factorizable. And lastly, we have the quadratic formula, which can always be used to find the solutions to any quadratic equation. In this video, we will be only be discussing the method of factorization, and later on we will also write the formula of quadratic equation. Here we see the first method, which is one of the most straightforward methods for solving quadratic equations. And for solving the quadratic equation by factorization method, you need to rewrite the equation in the standard form. Then find the two numbers whose product is C and whose sum is B. Now there is a mistake. It's not always necessary, but sometimes. Let's go through the example of where we have the equation x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equals to 0. We need to find the two numbers that multiply to 6 and 1. Means actually we just need to multiply the last constant term, means 6, with the coefficient of x squared. The coefficient of x squared is 1. No term is written with x square, means 1 is over here. So we just need to multiply 6 with 1. 6 ones are 6. Then you need to see the factors of 6. which are 2 and 3. You know, two threes are 6 or three twos are 6. So that means 6 can be splitted as two threes are 6, and whenever 2 we add 2 and 3, we ultimately get 5, which is the middle term, means the coefficient of x. So this is how we can factorize this equation. Let's factorize the given quadratic equation step by step. Firstly, we can rewrite the equation with the middle term split into 2. X squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6 is equals to 0, as we've already discussed. After grouping the terms into two parts, we factor out the common factor from each group, resulting in x into x plus 2 plus 3 into x plus 2 is equals to 0. Actually, in the previous step, there were two parts. The first one is x squared plus 2x, and the second one is 3x plus 2. So from the first part, we took x common because it was present in both the terms of x squared and 2x. And for the second part, we took common 3, then we were left with x plus 2. And now we can again take common x plus 2 because it's present in both the terms. The first term of x into x plus 2 and the second term of 3 into x plus 2. X plus 2 we can take common. And the same we took common x plus 2, and now after taking x plus 2 common from the first term, we are left with x, and from the second term we are left with plus 3. So we have finally x plus 3 into x plus 2, which is equals to the right hand side, which is 0. Because the product of both the factors is equals to 0, we can set each factor equal to 0, and now we can find the solutions to the equation, which are x is equals to minus 3 and x is equals to minus 2. Although factorization method is very effective for simple quadratic equations, what do we do when the equation doesn't factor nicely? This is where the quadratic formula comes into hand. The quadratic formula is basically a universal method for solving any type of quadratic equation, whether it is easy or difficult to solve, and is given by x is equals to minus b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac whole divided by 2a. Look at the example, x squared plus 2x plus 1 is equals to 0. In this example, the coefficient of x squared is 1, which is a, and the coefficient of x is 2, which is b, and the constant term is 1, which is c. Now you can directly put the values of a, b and c into the above formula, and you would notice that the results of, means the values of x would be same as you have find out from the factorization method. That is why I said you in the start that whatever the method for solving a quadratic equation is, the result for every case would be same. So now I encourage you to try substituting these values into the quadratic formula and solve for x. Now it's time to discuss why we need to solve the quadratic equations. Quadratics have real world applications across various fields. In physics, they are used to model projectile motion. For engineers, quadratic equations are used in the design of structures like bridges and buildings. And in economics, they can be used to model growth and decay rates, such as population growth or market changes. So, solving quadratics isn't just important in the classroom, it's an essential skill for real world problem solving. To summarize, I can definitely say quadratic equations are a cornerstone of algebra and are very versatile. We have learned about different methods of solving them, including factorizing and quadratic formula. And the mastery of quadratic equations opens actually the doors to understand many complex topics in mathematics and its real world applications as well. Thank you all for your attention, and I hope you find these concepts useful for your studies and beyond. Allah Hafiz.